We do not confirm or deny the truth of any story, but our stories are narrated based on the accounts of real individuals and the events that have happened to them. The wood was a blanket of darkness. Tall trees reached to the sky, their branches stealing the narrow shafts of moonlight. I navigated with my lantern alone. In it, I burned letters. I hoped I'd brought enough, but even now, a half hour into the journey, I felt my bag emptying faster than expected. Not good. My heart thrummed as I moved through the brush. There was a single path to Gloomfall, a narrow trail that was rarely traveled except by my family and those like us. It'd lead me to the lighthouse, to my sister, but only if I could find it. Lost, said a voice. I wheeled about, raising the lantern and squinting into the murky shadows. Who's there? Laughter met my ears. Playful. A shape appeared, something bipedal and canine. A dogman. I drew back, pushing my lantern forward as if to prove a point. This grants me safe passage. You can't harm me. More laughter. The dogman dropped onto all fours. It was the size of a small bear, and as it neared I saw its long teeth gleaming in the lantern glow. You've safe passage so long as you carry that. It'll run out before long. It lifted a human-like hand to its teeth, picking at them with a black claw. I can wait. Fucking hell. I didn't have any silver on me, which meant even if I could fight this thing, I couldn't kill it. I'd left before considering what I was walking into. Foolish, stupid, now I was paying the price. I squeezed the bag around my shoulder, crunching the letters beneath the fabric. There were fewer than I thought. You're going to be waiting a while, I lied, trudging on. You're right to be afraid, said the dogman. That so? I glanced over my shoulder, but I couldn't see it in the dim light. It was moving just beyond my vision. Out there, somewhere in the dark. Your old man was just the beginning, it said. Things are shifting here. Wheels are turning. You're a nameless haunt, I told it. What would you know? It snapped its jaws. I stumbled backward in surprise and nearly dropped my lantern. More laughter. And you're a fucking coward, it sneered. Nameless haunt or not, I'll have your heart in my teeth by the end of the hour. Bet on it. I took a deep breath, fishing in my bag for a fresh letter to light. Probably sooner than that, I thought anxiously. Where the hell is this path? Wait. A sound up ahead, just beyond the brush. Running water. I fumbled forward, doing my best to keep my tripping on any errant roots. I parted a clutch of branches, and ahead I saw a winding creek. The same one I'd walked along 10 years previous. If I followed that, then it'd me back to my family's land and the safeguarding lighthouse that sat upon it. I smiled. My chances of survival just went from 0 to slim, and I considered that a welcome improvement. She's next, you know, the dogman said, rising up on its hind legs. It had to be 7 feet. It kept pace with me, its jaws salivating while its cold eyes buzzed with hungry anticipation. Without your old man, the girl's as good as dead. I grit my teeth, telling myself to ignore its taunts. It wanted a rise out of me. The more emotional I got, the sloppier I became, and the more likely I'd be to drop the lantern. You're well informed for a haunt, I said, doing my best to salvage something from my situation. Something as well connected as you probably knows what killed my old man. More laughter, howling. The dogman kicked up stones along the creek shore as it bounded around me, and I did my best to shield the lantern from any errant debris. If it knocked it out of my hand, even accidentally, the dogman would die. That was the law of the land. But I'd still be left without a lantern, and that meant other phantoms would have their fill of me before long. Something funny? I asked. I've just forgotten how long you've been gone. 8 years? 10? You never met him, did you? I frowned. Who? The dogman stepped in front of me, its eyes dangerous. The stick man, it whispered. He's on his way to Gloomfall now. He'll be killing your sister while we speak. doing all sorts of things to her. I searched his eyes, but I saw no hint of laughter behind them. No hint of a lie. He was telling the truth. Damn it! I bolted. My feet pounded over the stones of the dark shore. I rushed down the edge of the creek, wondering how long until I'd make it back onto our land, back to my sister. Too long, I thought hopelessly. She's as good as dead. Images played in my mind, images of a shadow with cinder-light eyes, crouched over Harriet, its long limbs playing over her corpse. I'd seen it in my dream. An omen. Faster. I've got to pick up the pace. I doubled my efforts, my lungs scorching like a furnace. The dogman ran casually at my side, his powerful legs kicking back stones as his teeth snapped near my ear. About time for another letter, don't you think? That one's almost out. What? I glanced down. The letter was still fresh. My world span. I tumbled, slipping on a wet stone. Stupid. I rolled in a shower of pebbles and came to a groaning stop, hating myself for being so gullible. I blinked, unable to see anything. The light. What happened to my light? My hands shot out. I searched desperately for my lantern, but the dark was suffocating. I couldn't see my fingers in front of my face. Looking for this, said the dogman. I turned toward its voice. Please. Here you go. Something whistled through the air. I reached for it, fumbled it, and it crashed to the ground next to me. No! I gasped. I spread my hands across the stone shore, feeling for the lantern, and broken glass met my fingertips. Oh, said the dogman, but its voice had lost its teasing playfulness. It sounded hungry. Vicious. Looks like you've lost your safe passage. I grabbed the lantern. Broken or not, I could still use it so long as I protected the flame from the wind. I dug into my bag frantically, fishing out a letter, but before I could light it, a rough paw gripped my throat. I wheezed. It lifted me into the air, coughing and sputtering. My legs kicked out. They spasmed under me as I tried to beg for my life. Told you I'd have you between my teeth, the dogman snarled. It snapped his jaws near my ear. Question is, which end do I start with? Maybe the feet. Sometimes I like to listen to the screams for a bit. My mind reeled. I punched, clawed at the creature, but it was too big, too powerful. Poolies, I gagged. Don't beg, the monster said. Desperation tastes pathetic. I fell. I fell to the stones, gasping for air. The dogman had dropped me. Why? A yelp sounded in the dark. My heart pounded. Letters. I needed to burn another letter. I reached for my bag. Another yelp. Was the dogman in pain? Being attacked? I couldn't worry about that. Right now, all that mattered was securing safe passage. I brought my lighter to the edge of a letter, and the paper curled, hissing and crackling with the sound of salvation. Good. I breathed a sigh of relief, placing it into the lantern housing and pinching it beneath a stone. That should buy me a few minutes. A new sound from my right. Slick. Wet. It was like flesh being torn into, carved up, and it was followed by a low canine whimper. I swallowed. The dogman wasn't a particularly powerful entity. It was considered a nameless haunt, a wandering phantom of the wood that did the bidding of other, more terrifying creatures. But as nameless haunts went, dogmen were fierce beasts, and anything that could threaten a creature like that was wisely feared. Hello? I said uneasily to the dark. My lantern flickered, revealing a scene upon the rocky shore. Blood. It trickled over the stones, flowing past my boots and down into the babbling creek. I inched closer. A body lay on the ground. The dogman's. It wheezed, heaving weak breaths as something carved into its neck, working its way back and forth across the thick muscle with practiced efficiency. "You're rusty," said a voice, cold and haunting. It belonged to a man. He stopped carving the creature's head, lifting the blade onto his broad shoulders where it gleamed serrated silver. I raised my lantern. My feet stumbled backward, my mouth moving wordlessly. The man was tall, far taller than I remembered. His hair fell around his neck in a black mane, and his lips spread into a midnight smile. "At long last," he said, "the prodigal son returns, and with him brings the end of all things." "You," I breathed. It was all I could think to say. No words could express the hurricane of emotions, of rage, pain, and hatred I felt in that moment. I hadn't looked into those eyes since I'd watched them kill my mother 30 years ago. "What's the matter?" asked the man. "Don't you want to give your big brother a hug?" I hope you have enjoyed the story. To hear more stories, be sure to subscribe to the channel and let us know how you feel by liking and leaving your comments about your emotions.